apologize. I ran a meeting in a while, so bear with me. Let the record reflect we are missing Maria Trout tonight. She is out sick. So let's start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board chair comments. After our January 7th meeting, we did have a closed session as permitted by Minnesota statute 13D.03, during which negotiation strategies were discussed. Those present were John Andrews, Lucas Boyd, Randy Hackett, Ryan Hofstad, Ellie Hall, Maria Trout, Wayne Lepard, and Mandy Sadler. I have no other board chair comments, Ryan. Can I get approval of the agenda?
So moved. I'd like to second it.
Okay. All right, moved by Director Boyd, seconded by Director Hackett. Everyone in, or any discussion, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Motion passes 5-0. Appreciation, recognition, and presentations. Tonight we're going to welcome in the FFA to give us a presentation about their group.
Co-chair Holm and Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Lepard, I would like to introduce the Royalton FFA chapter. These are our officers, right? Some of our officers, but they are going to do a little presentation and give us a little bit of an update on where they're at.
So you can take your chairs and just set up. And then when you're ready for the demo, we'll go to your chairs.
I think they're gonna sneak in the middle.
Team, just move forward so you're not
Hello, we are representing Royalton FFA tonight. I'm Brianna Pop, our chapter president.
I'm Raylan Bannerman, the chapter secretary.
I'm Stella Pop, the chapter reporter.
I'm Benjamin News, representing the vice president.
I'm Brody Navarro, and I'm representing the chapter treasurer.
I'm Addison Meyer, and I'm representing the chapter sentinel.
And I'm Miss Ladon. I'm one of the agriculture science teachers and FFA advisors. Thank you for having us tonight.
FFA is an agriculture leadership program, and tonight we'll be giving you a little update on our chapter, and then we'll be doing a small demonstration.
CDEs are career development events that students compete in to develop their career skills in these different areas listed in agriculture, in which, as you see, 43 students will be competing or are competing, and the bolded ones are the teams who made the same.
Here we have leadership development events, also known as LDEs, where basically they are competitions that help better our speaking and teamwork skills. We have 19 people who are involved with these select few competitions, and parliamentary procedure, conduct of chapter meetings, both made it to state, which all include members from, all of us are members of one of those teams.
Proficiency awards are SAE, which is a Supervised Agricultural Experience Award. Ethan Van Erden, Emma Bodie, and Landon Hackett all applied. Ethan Van Erden and Emma Bogey are going to be competing in state in poultry production and goat production.
The state degree is the highest degree in FFA you can receive from the state of Minnesota. And we have one member receiving that in April, Greg Gomez. And then the talent competition, state band and state choir are also opportunities you can participate in at state. And Brody will be applying for the state choir.
Region Officer candidate, we had Bailey Grande apply, and she applied at Winter Rally a couple weeks ago. And although she didn't get accepted, she has learned so much from this experience, and we are all very happy for her.
The National Chapter Award is an award that our chapter is filling out, and our goal is to be in the top 20 out of 219 different chapters.
Parliamentary procedure, which we will be demonstrating tonight, is a LDE competition of about 11 minutes where 6 members, 5 of which debate 4 times and move 1 or greater motion with an additional motion. They demonstrate how a meeting is pretty much run, and then our president runs the meeting for us. And then conduct the chapter meetings is the junior team of that, which has just a few less requirements. This will now be demonstrating that for you guys.
So normally they walk into the room and don't know what's on their card. And they'll be given 1 minute to prepare for that, and they can take some notes. And on that card is a motion or something that they need to come to a conclusion on, whether they pass that motion or fail that motion as a team. So they're going to be demonstrating that today in a shortened version.
Secretary, what is the next item of business?
Next item of business is the FFA Egg Day.
Members, you have heard the item of business. What is your pleasure?
Madam President.
Vice President.
I move that the Royalton FFA host an agricultural day for the ECC students in May.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for the Royalton FFA to host an agriculture day for the ECC students in May. Is there any debate?
Madam President.
Vice President.
I'm in favor of this motion for the following reasons. These students are the future of our FFA program, and it would be a benefit for them to learn what FFA is all about and see what they can do with their future. For these reasons, I encourage you to vote up on this motion.
Madam President. I am against this motion for these reasons. The ECC already has so many children in there, and adding us to the mix will just cause a little bit more chaos that we don't need for the teachers or for the children. For these reasons, I encourage the assembly to vote down on this motion.
Madam President. Secretary.
I would just speak in favor of this motion because doing this for the little kids would be a great opportunity because not all of them have these opportunities to see these egg animals themselves. Therefore, I vote the members vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President, I am in favor of this motion because we are able to reach our youth and we can teach them about all of the things FFA does that maybe will make them fail let us join FFA. For these reasons, I encourage you to vote up on this motion.
Madam President, I'm in favor of this motion because these younger students are very impressionable, and teaching them about agriculture at such a young age helps build their mind around maybe giving it a shot in the future, and help teaching these younger students about agriculture better helps our leadership and shows that we can carry out presentations or things of that. For those reasons, I encourage you all to vote up on this motion.
Madam President.
I move that we amend this motion by striking students and inserting 5th graders along with ECC students, so that if passed, it reads the Royalton FFA host an agriculture day for the ECC students and 5th graders in May.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to amend the main motion by inserting 5th graders that if passed reads the Royalton FFA hosts an agriculture day for the ECC students and 5th graders in May. Is there any debate?
Madam President.
I'm in favor of this motion because by adding 5th graders to our schedule, we are able to reach more and those students who will be coming to our program sooner. For these reasons, I encourage you to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
I wish to speak against this amendment because adding the 5th graders, there might be too many people and we might not have enough time for it. Therefore, I urge the members to vote against this amendment.
Madam President. I wish to speak against this motion as well for the following reasons. Too many people in one room could cause chaos and could cause us to not be, and would cause us to have to teach the ECC students and the fifth graders at different ways so that both grades understand. And that's a lot of work for both of them to try and understand at once. For these reasons, I encourage the assembly to vote down on this motion.
Madam President, I urge the assembly to vote up on this amendment. These fifth graders, which will be able to join FFA in just 2 short years, should know what it's all about and know if they really truly want to join or not. For these reasons, I encourage you to vote up on this amendment.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of amending the main motion by inserting fifth graders that if passed reads, the Rosen FFA hosts an agriculture day for the ECC students and fifth graders in May, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Motion failed. Division has been called. Madam Secretary, please assist me in counting votes. All those in favor of amending the main motion, please rise. Thank you, may be seated. All those against amending the main motion, please rise. Thank you, may be seated.
I rise for parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Does the division need a second?
No, it does not. Motion failed. We're now back on the main motion of the Rosen FFA hosts an agriculture day for the ECC students in May. Is there any further debate?
Madam President,
Treasurer.
I move to adjourn the meeting. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for them before they take off? Thanks again for coming.
And good luck to those who are continuing to compete.
All right, we will move on to recognition of citizens for input purposes. All right, on to reports. We'll start first with the student school board members.
Recently, we just put on some cookie sales for Valentine's Day. We moved to doing cookies instead of pop because of caffeine and sugar content and then potential spillage with like the cans and whatnot. So we moved to doing cookies and that was a really big hit this year. We sold out on the last day before all lunches were over. So I call it a success.
The officer here, not the last one. In the month of January, we lost a peer. So we are in the process of trying to set up a student memorial. That'll hopefully be outside of Valentine's Day, and we're working with Mr. Swenson and Ms. Arnson, making sure everything is in whatever standards they would like it to be. So that's also in the process. Student council isn't necessarily heading that. That's going to be run by Mr. Bill Babby, but that is something that's going to be happening.
The other thing that student council is currently preparing is Survivor Week and Survivor Day. To those of you who know, it's basically an activity day where the students get to come together, have their morale heightened, especially since, let's be honest, by semester 2, everyone's kind of tired of school. So it's just really something to have everyone to look forward to as the end of the school year comes closer. So students can really have a day just like being fun. So, yeah.
Any questions for them? Thank you, girls. Board chair reports, I don't have anything. Superintendent report.
Okay, first thing is, just want to congratulate the Ag Department. Nathan Goldaddy and Joelle Dunn wrote a grant for the next 2 summers. They will receive $6,800 this summer and $7,100 next summer for summer programming, and I'll have Joel talk to that, speak to that more in his report. But again, congratulations to that department for putting that out there for through MDE. Set the date for March 30th for the strategic planning meeting. That'll be the next session there. SRO, I know they had some interviews recently, and they've decided to move on and repost, so that's where they're at right now, hoping for more applicants. The student count is at 904 as of today. And I'll have Bridget talk about these next two items, World War II here, but our formula allowance for inflation will be increasing 2.69% over the next year, which is a sort of a good thing. Compensatory revenue will be $269,000 next year. Probably, it could be a little more, but we're kind of waiting on that. That's where I'm at. Any questions for me?
And then we will move on to Bridget for business manager report.
Great. We are gonna look at December. I will address the two items at the end, that we just mentioned, so regarding next year. We're gonna talk about December right now, so this is as of the end of December, so this is the financial report that the Finance Committee reviewed 2 weeks ago. So 50% of the fiscal year is complete, and this is still based on your original budget. The revised budget is going to be a working proposed revised budget will be brought to the Finance Committee next week, and then to the board next month, so March 9th, I believe. So right now, you're going to still see the original budget that was adopted last spring. So ADMs at that time that were estimated 916. The latest March report, which is still from December that I'm reporting on, showed 896. So just a reminder that ADM versus student count is different because of a number of things. So if a student is only here for part of the year, that is counted as one student, but ADM it would be 0.5, for example. Similar PSEO, it's based on how many classes they are taking at school versus a PSEO. So the original budget did project a surplus of $472,000, which would get the school to a fund balance of about $4.1 million at the end of the fiscal year. So a couple things, revenues and expenses compared to your original budget. And so keep in mind that this will be adjusted when we look at the revised, but if we look at revenues received compared to what was budgeted, we've received 48%. And at this point in time with this report, we are 50% of the way through the fiscal year. So pretty on target. Expenses were at about 44% compared to the original budget. Your cash balance at the end of December was $4.4 million. Prior year state aid receivable. So this number is essentially you've heard about how the state holds back approximately 10% each year. So you've received all of your holdback except for about $120,000. And actually, I know some came in January, so they have until June 30th to pay you out for last year's revenue. So that number should continue to decrease and hopefully get closer to zero until at the end of the fiscal year. Current year state aid receivable that on the balance sheet, I'll point this out, but basically we estimate what we think they're holding back this year based on your budget. And so that's at about $1.3 million. Last year's federal aid receivable has been fully received. So those are, federal aids are essentially any grants. So title, federal special ed, et cetera. So as you spend those, you can get reimbursed. There are some expenditures this current year that we haven't gotten reimbursed for. Those are fully reimbursable. So we just accrue for those, and that's about $46,000 as of the end of December. And then we do accrue for the teachers. They get paid over the summer. There's 4 paychecks that are paid over the summer. So that does hit the fiscal year numbers, but it doesn't hit your your cash balance until July and August. And so we always accrue for that. So we know that that is coming at the end of June, but we don't want to see this large increase in expenses that we haven't been budgeting for, planning for. Cybersecurity grants, so the school did receive that grant in the amount of $50,000. I mentioned that the revised budget will be forthcoming, and then that food service equipment line I just left on there from last month because that is over budget. Because there was a removal and replacement of the cooler condenser, so that equipment budget is a little bit over. The next page is essentially dashboard is what's your numbers in just graphical format. So the top one is showing budget and then compared to year to date. Revenues are on the left, expenses on the right. And then the second graph there shows basically the breakdown of the revenues and expenses into the different areas, primarily object codes, then a little bit of the fund balance for the funds as well, so food service, community ed, et cetera. The fund balance history, so this is just look back the last 5 years, how the school, your fund balance and then your surplus or deficit, how you ended each year. And then the bottom one there is basically a trend showing each month your revenues and expenses, how each month ended compared to where you were at. So again, December is 50% of the way through the year. That's the diagonal line. This next one is showing an enrollment. And so we have what we get from the ABM, the orange is showing the latest March reports that I received, and then the budget, which is still based on that original budget. And enrollment history is just a look back historical. Balance sheet, we've talked about quite a few of these numbers. I don't think there's anything I necessarily want to point out. Oh, the payroll and deductions under the liabilities, you see a negative 83,000. Do not be worried about a negative on your liabilities. Essentially what this is saying that your health insurance, the dental insurance bill, that was most likely paid December 31st or at the end of December for January. And then the deductions came out of employee paychecks in January. So there's just a timing difference there. Go to the next page. This is going to show you all funds. So general fund, food service, community ed, debt service fund, revenues and expenses. And so you can see there the surplus that is budgeted is 471,000. Then your beginning fund balance and then how it would add to the fund balance. And it would be expected to be at 27, your fund balance would be 27% of expenses with that original budget. This is showing you general fund revenues. So the top portion, state revenues. And so this is anything that you get through from MDE, through those IDEAS payments. Let's see, I mentioned this probably last month too, don't be alarmed about those zeros. MDE meters out their payments, it's not straight line. You don't get Gen Ed formula the same amount each month. It's just how they meter it out. You will get what you are owed, but some of it just may come more in the holdback versus the other ones. Federal, so there's your federal grants that we had talked about that get fully reimbursed, and then your local revenues, so interest, and then you have your athletic revenues coming in through there. This is kind of local revenues, essentially like miscellaneous type things, scholarship, and student activity is included in there as well. The next page is a lot of your general fund expenditures, and then the granted towards the bottom. And so this, again, these lines have all been analyzed as we've gone through the revised budget process, and I'll have an update on anything that's over, and we'll have those adjusted and a little bit more explanation of what things, if we did adjust budgets next month. I don't have anything specific unless there's a question on these general fund expenses. This is showing your general fund totals. So this is just the general fund revenues less expenses there. You can see the projected surplus. And then your fund two. So this is your revenues are reimbursable. Your clicks claims, which is basically your food counter, that's fully reimbursed through the state and federal. And so those are always about a month behind, because essentially you submit the clicks and then get reimbursed a few weeks later. So this is going to be done showing through November. Expenses, so that's just food, any lunchroom costs of employees, etc. Fund four, so this is your community ed program. So you get a little bit of levy and state aid, but primarily this is from tuition from patrons. So fees that are collected, preschool tuition, etc., and then expenses there are anything related to your community program. And then the debt service is essentially your levy, and then your bond principal and interest. And that was mostly, some of it was paid, but then in January, the rest of it was paid there. So the expenses went up quite a bit in January, which you'll see next time. Is there another? No. Okay, so I do want to address the two things that Wayne mentioned. So we did find out late last week what the MDE is giving for the general, basically your per pupil unit increase. And so it was adopted by the legislature a couple of years ago that it's a minimum of 2%, a maximum of 3% based on inflation. And they came up with 2.69% is what it'll be for fiscal year 27. To just compare to this year we have received 2.74, so pretty close. And then the compensatory revenue. So they did also come out with this late last week, an estimate of what all schools are going to receive compensatory for next year. And it, like Wayne said, I think it's shown 270,000 for Royalton. And so the compensatory calculation has changed. The legislature had changed it 2 years ago, I believe, or basically starting in this fiscal year. And a year ago, it was a similar thing. They came out with calculations with an amount that was a little bit lower than the previous formula. And then in late May, early June, they reverted back to full formula. And that, in Royalton's case, you received about an extra $80-ish thousand. We are not sure, even MPE has said, we are not sure what they're going to do, if they will stay with the adopted or the legislature formula, or if they'll revert back. So we will budget with what we are told, which is most likely this $270,000. Now, if they do revert back, it's closer to $340,000 in revenue. But I think it's a better idea to budget with what they're telling us and also the more conservative. Questions on financials or budget or any of those two things we just.
I have one. Page 9, we had the list of expenses. The one that really jumped out to me was technology equipment. At 113%.
Oh, 120%, yeah.
Whatever. So, I mean, is there gonna be more purchases? Are we gonna really blow that one, or is that just gonna be what it is for the year?
Well, we're adjusting that with the revised budget, and I'll go into a little bit more detail with that. I'm guessing that the 75,000 was just a little bit low for what was expected, yeah. And so that's adjusted, we've already, met with on that, and.
It's the one that stood out to me.
Sure, yeah, and I'll have a little bit more detail when I present the revised budget on that. Any other questions? Principal report?
All right. Chair is Housestead Home, Superintendent Picard, members of the board. Wanted to give a few updates. The summer grant thing that Superintendent Lepard was talking about. You saw the amount of work going into FFA. Those FFA activities take place all year long. They don't just show up in September and start doing this. A lot of their activities take place over the summer. Some of their preparation for the CDEs that take place are over the summer. And what this grant allows is just allows that teacher time for those teachers to support that student learning over the summer and work with students on their CDE development, on their SAE projects, and they get a chance to go out and visit the students on site wherever they're working on their SAEs, and it provides us an opportunity to compensate the teachers for that time. It provides them that time to do that over the summer, so it's a really nice program that's supplemented by the state and in the FFA program to allow that time. Some questions on PSEO have come my direction, and when I look at the ADM chart and you see it, and Bridget, please correct me when I wander into the woods here a little bit, but the PSEO, we are in the wild west of PSEO, and schools all over the state are trying to figure out how to navigate, create opportunities for students, and maintain the programming that they have in their buildings. You kind of get a double hit with PSEO as you create more opportunity right now, and the more students you have taking PSEO, the lower your ADM number goes down to. So when you see 896, some of that is accounted for by the fact that we have less students in seats in classes during the day because they're taking PSEO. So we lose the student funding on that side. The double whammy is we are also paying for the increase in the PSEO costs for those students. And so as you see ADM go down and you see PSEO costs go up, that gap gets to be significant. And there are concerns around the state on not eliminating opportunity, because PSEO opportunities are important for students. But the goal is to find a way that is less risks for us, for maintaining our high school programming, for our high school programs, and create the opportunities for the students that they need. One way that we're going to be working on that this year is a program called OCHS. OCHS is a combination, I'm going to read this because I will get the schools wrong. OCHS is a PSEO program through Alexandria Technical College, Northwest Tech in Bemidji, and Northland College in Thief River Falls. OCHS is like the first step to taming the Wild West. These three schools have got together and have tried to create a more high school friendly PSEO option. It follows the school calendar, the high school calendar. So kids don't start PSEO classes August 15th or August 17th, and there's nobody here at school and they don't know, they haven't been a college kid before. OCHS starts theirs to reflect the high school school year. Students don't have to go buy their own books. The school takes care of that. Their books come here, they come to us, pick up their books for their classes, the materials that they need for their classes. The OCHS program communicates. So a lot of times in certain PSEO programs, and a lot of the PSEO programs, if a student struggles, we don't find out about that. They're not our student at that time. We don't know who their teacher is. We know that they have the college class that's scheduled. We find out what their grade is in that class when the college submits it to us 45 seconds before it goes on the report card. And so there is some risk involved in that. If a student struggles and they don't make use of the college advisors, there's not a way for us to know. OCHS creates a communication link between the school and the family, so they will be able to report grades back to the school, so we can help provide support to the students in those programs. Here's the wonderful part about OCHS. The average cost, and I've had this in my newsletter the last couple of weeks. The average cost per credit for PSEO is about $260 per credit if you're St. Cloud Tech, CLC, Bridgewater. In the OCHS program, the cost per credit is $135 per credit. This credit transfers just like any other college credit. It is just, this program is high school friendly. Right now we have 35 students who are full-time PSEO in our school district. That is at least 12 credits per semester. If you do the math on that, 35 students, 420 credits at $260 is about $109,000 a semester. Now, take into account the lost ADM and the cost of the PSEO. If we can steer our students, we cannot force them. If we can't tell them, you know, you're going to get your birthday taken away if you don't take the OCHS course. If you decide to take a course through St. Cloud Tech or CLC, they can still do that. We are definitely encouraging as many students as we can to take advantage of OCHS, but that $109,000 cost through OCHS is about $56,000 for the same group of students to use PSEO. Same benefit to the students, they have the same schedule, they schedule it the same way. The only difference is more safeguards and better communication, books, follows the school calendar. And so we are going to be steering our students there. We've been communicating with parents and students already that we want them to make use of the OCHS program. So we are excited about seeing if we can bring down some of that PSEO cost for next year. The other ways that we're doing that is looking for ways to partner on CIS classes. CIS is College in the Schools. It is taught by our instructors that have 18 infield credits in the area that the class is being taught in. We have about graduate credits in the area that it's being taught. We have about 7 instructors that have that credential, and they are all teaching CIS courses. The schools in our area, especially here into the north of us, who are dealing with the same PSEO challenges that we are looking for ways to combine and offer shared CIS offerings. So Little Falls has a class that's teaching CIS. Is there a way that our kids can access that? And there's something that we offer them and their kids access it to us. We keep our kids, we keep our ADM, the kids earn college credit. It's not online, they're working with an in-person staff member. So we are looking for those types of opportunities as well. Advocating at the legislature, keeping all of those things in response to the legislature. They've asked questions, and I've asked them, look at the OCHS program. That's more along the lines of what we'd be looking for as a school. And so we are continuing that advocacy, not trying to eliminate it in any way, shape, or form, because that would be a mistake. We just want to get our handle on it, protect our programs, and create a nice balance between the college programming and the high school programming that we have here in Arlington. So, did I step into the woods, or am I okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Any questions for me?
I have some.
Okay.
So the problem with CIS is the accreditation of teachers, right? Because it's been an assault on them because they're not college teachers, right?
The college teacher unions have put up some roadblocks in terms of they feel that the college, high school programs are a threat to that licensure at the college level.
So if a teacher gets the accreditation, is that lane change here in Arlington?
It is, yes.
Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely know it, because the ones that have done it are definitely checking on that before they go into it.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a lot of work that they have to do with it, but because it's not as easy as it was 6-8 years ago.
It is nowhere near I remember Jeff Shainrock was doing the 18 infield credits in math. He said it was some of the most difficult math that he's ever done. And it was weird having a teacher like, hey, can you go fishing? And he was like, no, I got homework. Yes, that graduate work is definitely more rigorous.
For this past spring, they actually allowed if the teacher was working towards getting their 18 credits or their master's in a particular field, they could actually start teaching the CIS classes before they were done, which is helpful. Because we have one teacher that is working on theirs, so we can offer some stuff next fall.
I hope I explained a little bit about PSEO. It's a learn. It is like, describe it as like having your hands tied behind your back and there's things being thrown at you and you don't really know where it's coming from. That's the way it kind of feels. But the more conversation we have about it, the more clear we are about those challenges that we're facing and the opportunities that we have within those challenges, the more educated and equipped we become to handle those things that are being tossed at us. So.
I feel like the FFA group that was in here and the Yes Club and some of that stuff are good avenues to promote. Maybe missing out on some of the vocational stuff and staying in the school. You gotta remember this group of kids, we told them it wasn't important to go to school for a year and a half too.
Yes.
So.
And that's where some of this was born out of COVID, was this a bit of this online, when the colleges went online, they found a way that they can extend their programming outside their walls. And so a lot of this is being made to supplement lost physical enrollment in their own colleges. The other part of it that's we need to remember, and it's alarming when you look at the ADM count, is the ADMs go down, the PSEO costs go up, but the other harmful part for us is we're still having administrative costs with our students. The kids who are taking PSEO are using our teachers at times for counseling, and they are using our counseling services and all of the stuff that we have here. That is not being taken on by the college. We are still doing all of that stuff.
And they're sitting in the Lions Den and they're stuck, and then they go and ask.
Yeah, they should be going to a college advisor, but you know they're not. They're gonna go to the people that they know for support, and our teachers help. They jump in and do it. But it is some of the costs associated with it, we're still
Try to
taking
track
on.
at some point.
What's that?
Maybe that's a number you should try to track at some point. You know, so if you do go to the legislature or something, you could say, do you realize this is the time we're spending on their students?
Mhm.
You know, they're ours, but, you know, we have no idea what that number might be.
And I am 100% behind. When a kid walks in our building, they're ours.
Yeah.
And when they're on our sports teams, they're ours. And we will do everything we can to help them, even right now, not knowing how to define what it is that's happening, we're still in the job of helping our kids, so.
That's all I have.
I have a question too, and maybe it's more of a Bridget question. So the state money that we get per student, even if they're out at PSEO and we're having, you know, say this $109,000 a semester, does the rest of that money then that student acquires stay in the school, or does that get adjusted?
So you get that 7,481 times whatever, so say it's a half-time PSEO, half-time student here, it'd be 7,481 times 25.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yep, okay. All right, any other questions? All right, activities director.
Co-chair, Home, Hofstad, Superintendent LaFar, members of the board. Just a quick update on a couple things. First off, I would like to let you guys know that we did announce our AAA winners, which would have been Chaz Pasick and Haley Wolbeck. They had a dinner. They were our pick, so then they go to the section to see if they can make to the next level. That was back in January. Our Excel award winner for the nominations were Brianna Pop and Noah Kroll. Difference between the AAA is for seniors. Typically, they're involved in arts, athletics, and academics. Excel looks at arts and academics and athletics, but it's also looking at their volunteer and service hours. I'm actually on like the state level for picking the top 32-ish people that get presented at the basketball tournament. So try to figure out who would be a good fit for that. Because I normally work with the activities advisors and stuff like that, and Mr. Spencer. As far as our winter activities, we're getting close to the end of our seasons. This is the last regular week of girls basketball. They're projected to probably host the first round game here next Thursday. Against who, not sure. We'll find that out Sunday. Boys have this week and next week with regular season play, and then they'll start their playoffs on March 5th. Wrestling started a couple weeks ago with girls individual sections. We had 2 girls place 5th, so close to making it to state, but it's like the top 2. And then this past weekend we had team sections. We wrestled against Northeastern and Ely, I think it's a co-op. And then we won against them, and then our next round we went against Holding Ford, who's a very strong program right now. So
This Friday, wrestling has their individual sections at Staples. Robotics is also kind of getting to the end of their season. Right now, I think we have all three of our teams, 2 high school and middle school, that have qualified for state, and that will be the first weekend in March in St. Cloud. And then spring sports start second week of March. Any questions?
All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. The board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, a director can pull an item off the consent agenda for further discussion. Would anyone like to move an item from the consent agenda to the discussion part of the agenda? All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Hackett, seconded by Hofstad. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 5-0. All right, discussion, information, and action items. 9A, the APAC vote of concurrence.
Okay, this is a vote that we do annually from the board. It's a concurrence vote that the APAC committee signs off on with the concurrence or non-concurrence. And we have to submit a report to MDE every March 1st. We have 11 students, American Indian students, in our district. Actually found up to about 20 now, I think, but it's based on October 1 count. And so they're concurring on a plan that we put together, 6 categories for pre-K through 12 students. The parents of the committee, we met in January. We're going to meet again in April. Had a really good meeting, very positive. And so your vote tonight is really, it's a vote to say that we had the vote of concurrence, either whether or not they vote none or to concur, we still have to do the vote. So.
All right, can I get a motion to approve this?
So
Moved by Director Hofstad,
Second.
seconded by Director Andrews. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 5-0. All right, 9B, the 2026-27 calendar discussion. We will discuss the calendar this month and it'll be brought back for a vote in March.
Okay, so I'll just talk some main points to the calendar recommendation. Options were discussed and shared and vetted from administration and staff, both sites, over the last few months. One of the legislature changes this year was to offer districts to start before Labor Day for the next 2 years, because Labor Day is later than normal. And so we can start as early as September 1st. And so that's what our recommendation is in the plan, is to start September 1st. And then we would be done with the last student day before Memorial Day. Recent years, we've had early outs for professional development. We would not have those in this calendar. And those were for the REDAC trainings, such as letters. Some consistent student off days, other than September and May. We would have those in place each month, which seems to be kind of a positive thing for staff and students. Those are the highlights that I see in the plan.
are Wednesday still going to be a late start for PLCs?
Yes.
Just on odd day weeks.
Any questions or discussion?
So probably the biggest change for people is just the calendar, the early start. Before Labor Day, yeah. And with that, it's, I think it's Tuesday, I think it's September 1st. Yeah, right. Yeah, September 1st is a Tuesday, we have school Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Friday off. The 7th, Monday is Labor Day. And then regular routine again.
All right, so we'll bring this back in March.
Unless we're ready to vote tonight, but it's to the board.
Anybody have a problem with approving it tonight? You want to think about it, talk to community, friends?
As far as total days, student days and teacher days, the rest stay the same.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Are you worried about not having some kids for the first 3 days?
No, and if we have to make, I know we have kids presenting at state fair and things like that, we would exempt that. And to be honest with you, it's probably the best time of the year to miss. I mean, it's more social in terms of the first couple days of, but in terms of academically, the first couple days of school where you're kind of getting into the swing for a student who has been in high school for a few years and is down at the state fair presenting, there's good learning that's happening during those opportunities. And it's just a matter of them socially, they're going to catch up on the Tuesday after Labor Day. That's the big, I think kids want to, they show off their new car or their new clothes or new haircut or whatever they do. And that is just something that for the kids that are at the state fair, which is a great opportunity, they do that when they come back.
And the other thing I noticed is graduation is that last week again, and we've done that. Last year was the first year that?
Yes.
Taking seniors all the way through?
Yeah.
I haven't had much feedback from the community, a little bit. Actually, just one family that wasn't real happy with it. As far as you guys, have you had any other feedback from keeping the seniors that last week rather than letting them out early?
In fact, they got out, by moving it, they got out the same amount of days before graduation as they did in the past.
They did?
Yeah. They were out about, my goal is to try to get them out, like this year, looking at graduation being on Friday, my goal is to get them out Wednesday. So, if you have the freedom
of room for the one that might need it.
Possibly. The one thing that is really nice about having the end of your school year line up with graduation is when you get a weird year where you get 3-4 snowstorms and you can't do e-learning days. When your seniors get out of that, if you have to add days on, your seniors aren't making that up after the fact. And so that's where you start running short on hours on seniors, is they've already graduated out. Having them be there right there towards the end, now you can make that adjustment. You have a real, my goal is Wednesday. If we had a real bad winter and, I shouldn't say that because the doors will fall off, but you have a regular winter, you can pretty much count on the Wednesday before graduation that the seniors are gonna get out. But if we had a really bad one and we had to make up a day, my goal would be, okay, we're gonna let you out Thursday afternoon instead of Wednesday and make it up without having to go into another week or into anything else like that. So it provides us the flexibility to move. It doesn't really change much for the kids.
What do you guys think?
I haven't looked at it real in depth yet. Guess it wouldn't hurt to save a month and just look over it a little bit.
Well, I think the benefit of letting it for months is that it was collecting, gives you a chance to come in.
Don't look at the yellow things, the conference dates and stuff like that are just placeholder projections from Someone already asked me, you have a conference that's scheduled on Friday night. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
All right, so we will move on to 9C, which is the band trip proposal. So I'm assuming Chris will talk about that.
Chairs, Hofstad and Holm, members of the board, Superintendent Lepard. My name is Chris Kapkus, for those who don't know me, I'm the band director. This is actually a trip proposal for band and choir this year. As far as my knowledge, the band and choir have never traveled together, but with the instability in our choir program as of late, allowing those choir kids to have the same opportunities the band kids have to travel is very important to me. The last time the choir traveled this year's, none of the kids in high school currently were old enough. They were in 8th grade. Next year's seniors were in 8th grade. So this trip proposal for next year allows them the opportunity to come with and experience something that some students never get to have. We have students that'll never leave the state of Minnesota unless we take them on a trip, and this is a great opportunity for that. So what I'm proposing to you is a performance on the seas. We work with music festivals out of Pennsylvania. They're one of 2 music performance companies that take students on cruises. This proposal would look like something like this is on this proposal. We would leave Sunday, which in this case 2027 works out to be Palm Sunday, and we would come back on Good Friday, so the students would miss 4 days of school. In conversations with our AD and principal, this is the 1 week in the entire school calendar where there's not a conflict of sporting events. We looked at Thanksgiving break and there's basketball and volleyball going on. We looked at the holiday break and there's basketball tournaments. We looked at President's Day and there's wrestling, as you all know. So this is the 1 week. It's the week that follows the boys basketball state tournament and the week before softball, baseball, spring sports have competitions. So what I'm looking for from you is a yes so that we can move forward. As you know, we have pre-registration starting on Thursday with conferences tied to that. I want to get out to the students that this trip is happening because my expectation for them is that they are in band and choir for the entire school year. Now, that doesn't mean kids have to be in both band and choir, right? They would have to be in one or the other. They can be in both, obviously. But we are looking for retention. We're looking for recruitment. We're looking for keeping kids in our programs. I recently went to an honor band and was talking with one of the college faculty members, and he was talking about another school about the numbers. So I thought, I wonder where our numbers are. Pre-COVID, we had 256 kids in band. As of this year, we have 156. We still haven't recovered from COVID. My hope is by having these reoccurring trips, we connect with these students and keep them more in. And there's always going to be other things that they can take, but if we can grab them and keep them, it's going to benefit us in the long run. So essentially what you're looking at is I gave you kind of what it could look like. Most of what's in here will probably happen. Right now, the only thing that may change is the ship that we're on, and the only reason it would change is if you've looked at airline tickets in the past, you'll know that they're going up. The trip time falls in peak spring break season. So while I had the kids vote and they like this Utopia of the Seas because it's one of the newest ships, there's also the Oasis, which is the new ship, and the Wonder. They all go out of 3 different ports in Florida, and whichever is the cheapest to fly to, that's what we're going to do. They all go to the same locations. Coco Cay is Royal Caribbean's private island, and Nassau in the Bahamas has a lot of cultural, musical things that we can experience as a group together. The other piece that I really like about cruises is, some people are like, well, why don't you go to New York? Or why don't you go to Florida? Well, here's the thing. Once we're on the ship, they're enclosed. They're not going anywhere. Okay, I could go to New York and we could go to Chinatown and I might lose a kid and that would not be good. That's scary. Those are the things that scare me. Okay, this would be the 7th band/choir cruise I've taken as a teacher in my 21 years. I've traveled with Piers, I've traveled with BBE, and this will be the third one here in Royalton, if you guys approve it. Not only will the students perform on the ship, band will perform, choir will perform, but there's also Broadway show, Broadway musicals, there's jazz combo things that happen throughout the ship so the kids can take in as many musical opportunities as possible. Any questions?
7 trips, have you lost a kid yet?
Not lost a kid. I did have to pay a really big fine or price. One kid went to the medical center. They won't let you off if you don't pay the bill. Don't worry, we worked that out at the end. But my credit card luckily was high enough to pay for that, so that's good. But no, I've not lost a kid. I don't plan on losing any. Just so you know, when we went 2 years ago, we had 35 band kids go. We had 9 parents tag along. We'll have a tag along piece as well. My intention is to pitch it to our community ed director first before I pitch it to parents, because if I can get the community ed involved, that piece makes it easier.
Is there a potential for fundraising that you could organize for that? Because I feel like a lot of kids' issues could be they don't have the money to go, even if they do.
100%. We will be looking at fundraising opportunities. I don't have any right here in front of me, but that is something that we will look for and give them options to fundraise if they would like.
I have a question, Chris. I know we had talked before about the trips not happening during the school year. Is it that March time to catch that last class?
Specifically, yes, but the other reason we would like to go in this time is I have heard through the grapevine that Spanish is looking to travel in the summer, and having 2 trips at the same time, if kids want to go on both, is not possible.
Anybody else?
If we do approve this, we do need to change our policy, because this is the 3rd one that I know that we've done. And our field trip policy, the 610, does specifically say if you're going out of state, it cannot be during the school year.
I will say that the one other thing to consider is you might want to change it anyway, because nationals for robotics goes, band is, obviously more of a class than some of those, but if we're allowing other groups to go during the school year, then it shouldn't matter what we're asking for.
So there is an exception for those.
Oh, there is, okay.
FFA, Minnesota State High School League, and that kind of thing. So it's really a class that's not doing something that's progressive, that takes you out of state. And I'm not against doing it at this time or during the school year. I'm just saying we're going against our policy, so we might as well change our policy if that's what we need to do. So, which is what we need to do.
And do you need an approval tonight?
I'm hoping for an approval tonight so that when Thursday happens and student-led conferences happen, pre-registration, we can get it out to the students starting tomorrow. We have senior high band and choir 8th hour before pre-registration starts, so that the kids will all know that they have to have this on their schedule so they can go.
What is administration's
Full support. I was a music person, I forget.
I will say, I went 2 years ago and it was really fun. And we got to experience a lot of different cultures as well, so it wasn't just the fun aspect of it, we got exposed to a lot of different things. So it's definitely not an experience I would have had otherwise.
Megan was telling me about after she got back, and all she had to say was positive things and how much fun she had. So except for the sunburn, she got a really bad sunburn. She didn't like that.
That is the one downside.
I did.
Except my high school band trip was to Minneapolis and St. Louis.
I went to San Antonio.
Joel, anything?
So I'll make a motion to approve this with the follow-on that the policy gets changed to strike that 2B2 policy 6.
How about just to review the policy and bring it back to the board?
We can. The policies are actually good. We just reviewed this like a year ago. But that's the one line that's stopping us from doing this in accordance with our policy, and that'll take care of it, I think.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made by Director Hofstad. Seconded by Director Andrews. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks so much.
All right, approval of donations by resolution. Could I get a motion to introduce the donation resolution and waive the reading? Moved by Director Hackett. And I'll second. All right, I do want to mention the donations though, for the meeting, Royalton Firemen's, or Royalton Fire Department, $4,000 donation designated for the pickleball tennis courts. STC Optimist Club, $1,000 designated to the care closet. T-Mobile, $30,000 to the football field. Royalton Student Council, $1,500 to the care closet. Rice Area Sportsman's Club, $1,500 to Deep Portage. And St. Cloud Optimist Club, $1,500 to robotics. All right, the motion for,
I'll second it.
yes, I seconded it. Yeah. Oh, so that was supposed to be after, okay,
Yep.
so then you do, okay, so like I said, bear with me. Whereupon said resolution was declared duly adopted by the school board of Royalton School District 485 on this. What's that? Yep, but this has to be changed to 1730.
First.
Okay, so John, roll call.
Director Hackett. Aye.
Director Boyd.
Aye.
Director Andrews. Aye. Director Hofstad.
Aye.
Director Moore.
Aye. Okay, so now what do I do?
So, and then nobody voted against. So everybody voted for it. Yes.
And now,
Yes.
this is,
No.
this is good.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thanks, Ryan. All right, so that one's good.
Yeah, it's confusing, isn't it?
It is very confusing. Yeah, that's gonna take a while. All right, so then we'll move on to 9E, policy reading. The following policies will be reviewed at the policy committee meeting on February 25th. 102, equal educational opportunity. 103, complaints, students, employees, parents, others. 206, public participation in school board meetings. 505, distribution of non-school sponsored materials. 507.5, school resource officer. 903, visitors to school buildings and sites. And 9D, the second policy reading, we do not have any this month. Do we have to add that other policy to that one, or will that be just something that we?
We can add that, as a first policy reading, do that. The biggest ones that we added was 507.5 this time as we're looking at the school resource officer. And really it's to look at the administration to make sure that the policy makes sense as it compares to, because I've seen probably 4 different schools and they are a lot the same in some spots and wildly different in others. So, which was very weird, but procedurally, how they want to handle some things makes a difference. So if we can kind of figure out how we want to do it, then when we do hire a resource officer, then we can collaborate with them a little bit more and say, this is how we think it's going to go and have a baseline to start with. So it's not, I don't know how we want to do that. So
Did you take that from another school, or did you model this from another school?
MSBA has a model.
This is MSBA,
We just never had it because we never had a need for it.
but that's where this was.
Yep. Yep. I just found it when I was reviewing some of that stuff, and Mid-State uses Little Falls as their resource officer, so they gave us a bunch of really good stuff to kind of start with, and hey, here's how we look at damage. Because there's a lot of damage that are outdoors and some different things and how that process goes through, so.
Alright, good. And then the upcoming meeting schedule, the finance committee meeting, February 25th at noon. Policy committee, 25th at 2, and then the regular board meeting, March 9th at 6. This works for everybody?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move for adjournment of the meeting.
All right, yeah, 7:10. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0. This is, I'm gonna have to sign this one. You introduce this as like.
And then you're.